Good day. We're going to be looking at J11, solving linear equations, which is a mixed review. So we're going to see some one-step, two-step, multi-step, whatnot. So we'll just jump in and get started. We're asked to solve for y, in other words, to isolate y, get it alone. So we have negative 18y is equal to 18. Well, if I'm multiplying these two numbers, to go in reverse would be to divide by negative 18 on both sides of the equation. So negative 18 divided by negative 18 gives me 1y. 18 divided by negative 18 gives me negative 1. Now remember, when you're solving equations, you're just doing the opposite of order of operations. You always will do parentheses exponents. You'll always do those first, but when you're solving equations, just keep in mind that you want to go backwards. So where we would do, if we knew everything, we would go straight down this way, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. When you're solving equations, remember, you're going to do addition, subtraction first, and then multiplication or division second. All right, let's look at number 2. Number 2 says negative 5p plus negative 17p minus negative 2 is equal to negative 20. Well, first off, we've got a negative plus another negative, so that's negative 22p. Now, minus a negative. Remember, do not go left. So we're actually adding 2 equals negative 20. Well, I want to isolate this p. So to do that, I'm going to jump over here. I'm going to actually subtract first. So minus 2 on both sides of the equation. So I've got negative 22p is equal to negative 22. I'm going to divide by negative 22 on both sides of the equation. And then, therefore, p would equal 1. Number 3, we have 4t plus 4t plus 2t minus 10 equals 20. Well, notice all of these are like terms, so let's combine those first. 4t plus 4t is 8t plus 2t is 10t minus 10 equals 20. Now, by inspection, I know that if I cover this up, or cover this one up, I'd be like, okay, well, what do I need to subtract 10 from to get to 20? Well, I need 30. So that means that I need this 10 times t to equal 30. So that must mean that t is going to be 3. Let's check to make sure. So I have a minus 10 here. I'm going to use inverse operations to create an additive inverse pair. So I'm going to add 10 to both sides of the equation, and I'm left with 10t is equal to 30. I'm going to divide by 10 because this is 10 multiplied by some number t equals 30, and if I divide by 10 on this side of the equation, I must divide by 10 on the other side. Therefore, t is 3. Let's see if I can fit another on this page. So we've got number 4 is 5z plus 10 is equal to 20. So again, if I cover up 5z by inspection, I know that whatever this number is under my finger, whatever that number is plus 10 has to equal 20. Well, of course, 10 plus 10 equals 20. So that must mean that 5 times 2 is 10, because 10 plus 10 is 20. Let's make sure. So I look, I've got addition. So I'm going to create an additive inverse pair by subtracting 10 from both sides of the equation. I'm left with 5z is equal to 10. Well, 5 multiplied by some number, z is equal to 10. I'm going to divide by 5. on both sides of the equation. Therefore, z is equal to 2. I don't remember saying that, but let's go on to number 5. We've got 2q minus q equals 4. Well, let's go ahead and combine like terms here. 2q, if I have 2 q's and I take one away, I'm left with a q. So q is equal to 4. Number 6, 16t minus 16t plus 2t plus 3 is equal to 17. Let's do some combining of like terms or buckets, whichever you want to say. So I have 16 t's and I take away 16 t's. Well, automatically that's 0 t's left just between those two. But then I come back and I add 2 t's to it, so I'm left with 2t plus 3 is equal to 17 because those eliminated each other. By inspection, I think, what do I have to add to 3 to get 17? Well, I have to add 14. So 2 times some number has to be 14. I'm thinking that number is 7, but let's test it. So I'm going to come up here and I'm thinking, okay, first thing I have is addition. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides of the equation. And I'm left with 2t is equal to 14. Then 2 multiplied by some number t gives me 14. If I divide by 2 on both sides of the equation, that leaves me t is equal to 7. Let's look at number 7 here. We have 2z minus 1 equals 7. Well, here we can combine like terms. If I have 2 z's and I take one away, that's 1 z left. Minus 1 equals 7. Well, by inspection, I'm thinking to myself, what number minus 1 gives me 7? Well, that has to be 8. Let's test it. So I have z here. Since this is subtraction, to create that additive inverse pair, to eliminate this, I'm going to add 1 to both sides of the equation. Therefore, z has to equal 8. Let's look at number 8. We're asked to solve for b. So we've got negative 10b is equal to 20. By inspection, I'm thinking to myself, some number times negative 10 gives me positive 20. Well, I know a negative times a negative gives me a positive, and so that must be negative 2. Let's test it. So I'm going to divide by negative 10 on both sides of the equation. Negative 10 divided by negative 10 leaves me positive 1b. 20 divided by 10 leaves me negative 2. Alright, our next problem is some number divided by 3 minus 2 equals 2. So if you think about it, whatever this number is, I have to subtract 2 from it to get 2. So I'm thinking 4 minus 2 gives me 2, which leads me to believe that in order for this to be 4, I have to think about what number divided by 3 would give me 4. Well, 12 divided by 3 would give me 4. But as you remember, in order to check this, we're going to work backwards. See, we have a minus here. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 to both sides of the equation. That leaves me some number divided by 3 is equal to 4. Then notice how this is division. The opposite of division is to multiply by whatever is in the denominator. So since I have 3 down here in the denominator, I'm going to multiply by 3 on both sides of the equation. Now if you think about this, this is 3u divided by 3. Well, that just leaves me u. 4 times 3 is equal to 12. So u must be 12. And that makes sense because 12 divided by 3 is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. All right, let's go ahead and look at number 10, I think it is. Whatever. So we've got solve for m. So we've got 2 multiplied by the quantity of m plus 1 equals 6. Now, you can do this one of two ways. Because 2 is a factor of 6, I could simply divide both sides by 2. That would give me m plus 1 is equal to 3. And then I could subtract 1 from both sides of the equation. M would equal 2. That's one way to do it. Now, the reason why this m plus 1 comes here by itself is because we know that 2 divided by 2 is 1. That's how that happened. Or you can distribute the 2. So 2 multiplied by m gives me 2m. 2 multiplied by positive 1 gives me positive 2. That equals 6. Then I would subtract 2 from both sides of the equation. That leaves me 2m is equal to 4. If I divide by 2 on both sides of the equation, I have m is equal to 2. So I did it 2 different ways and came out with the same answer. Let's look at the next problem. So we have negative 1 divided by b is equal to 1. Now this might seem a little tricky. However, what you're going to do is first of all think about it. What number divided into negative 1 gives you 1? Well, it can't be 2 because that would give you 1/2 equals 1. That's not true. It can't be 3 because negative 1/3 doesn't equal to 1. So I'm thinking of a number that when I divide it into 1, I get out 1. So remember when I said when we have division, we multiply by what's in the denominator? We're going to do that. So I'm going to multiply by b on both sides of the equation. And that leaves me with negative 1 is equal to b. Because 1 times b is just 1b. So there's no reason to put a 1 here and then divide by 1 because I get the same answer. So b would have to be negative 1, and that makes sense because negative 1 divided by negative 1 is positive 1. Make sure I put this in right because I do not want to lose my points. Let's look at the next one. Oh my goodness, it's negative n minus negative 12n plus negative 9n minus negative 11 equals negative 9. We got a lot of stuff going on here. And notice how I broke this down. Anytime I see minus a negative, I put it in parentheses to kind of keep myself straight. So I've got negative n. Well, negative or minus a negative is basically saying take negative 1, multiply it by this negative 12. So that gives me positive 12n. And then here, minus 9n. That doesn't change because this is positive. Minus negative 11. So that's the same as saying plus 11 equals negative 9. Let's go ahead and combine some like terms here. If you're doing buckets, put them in buckets. So negative n plus 12. Well, 12 has the advantage by 11. So that's 11n minus 9n plus 11 equals negative 9. Combine these like terms. That's 2n plus 11 equals negative 9. We're going to subtract 11 from both sides of the equation. I'm creating the additive inverse pair here. So 2n, 11 minus 11 is eliminated. Negative 9 plus another negative 11 is negative 20. Divide by 2 on both sides of the equation. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so 2n divided by 2 is 1n. Negative 20 divided by 2 is negative 10. Let's go ahead and look at the next one. We have k divided by 4 minus negative 7 is equal to 11. Now, first thing we're going to do is clean up some stuff here. We know we can keep the k divided by 4, but this minus and negative turns into plus 7 equals 11. Now think about this. Some number divided by 4 plus 7 equals 11. So whatever this is has to equal a total of 4. So let's see what we get. If I have plus 7 here, I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides of the equation. I get k divided by 4. 7 minus 7 is 0, so that's eliminated. 11 minus 7 is 4. Well, remember, there's a 4 in the denominator, so I'm going to multiply by 4 on both sides of the equation. Well, 4k divided by 4 leaves me just k, and 4 times 4 is 16. Let's see if that makes sense. 16 divided by 4 is 4. 4 plus 7 is indeed 11. So that would be 16. And let's look at number 13 here. H minus 1 is equal to 18. Well, by inspection, we know this number has to be bigger than 18 because I'm going to subtract 1 from that number. So I'm thinking it's 19. Let's check it. If I'm subtracting 1 to create my additive inverse pair, I'm going to add 1 to both sides of the equation. Therefore, H is equal to 19. All right, now hopefully that was helpful. If you need any more help at all, please make sure you come to tutoring. Have a great evening.